California. Journal by Reverend Lemuel Herbert. Chapter 1. The Departure. April 2nd, 1850. This morning at 8 o'clock I bade farewell to my family and friends in Delaware and started to the far F, California. The town was crowded with the friends and relatives of our company, and parting scenes were touching. Our feelings cannot be described, for our hearts were well nigh breaking, yet visions of possible gold were bright, and prospects for future good urged us on. Just as we were starting, my dear old mother, although I had taken leave of her last night, came from home, a distance of 6 miles, to take another farewell, and to tell me that in answer to prayer she had received grace to give me up. My heart was greatly comforted by this, and with tear-wet cheeks we bade each other a fond farewell. At Bell Point there were scenes of parting and grief. Some shook the parting hands and kissed their dear ones, while tears and heaving breasts attested their grief. Others drove off on horseback in silence, not being able to say a word, but fond glances were cast at loved ones, and fond adieus were waved. After having traveled about 12 miles along the Big Scioto River, our good fortune commenced by breaking down of a wagon belonging to William Lake's mess. We soon distributed the load among the other wagons, fastened the axle-tree of the broken wagon on a pole, and went on until night, when it was thoroughly repaired. We reached Pleasant Valley about dark and camped in the street. There was some excitement and considerable novelty connected with this, our first night in camp. I drove up to the signboard of the hostelry, unhitched the horses and tied them to the wagon for feed. At bedtime, James Lindsay and I lay down in the wagon. We slept soundly, and upon awakening and dressing congratulated ourselves on a fine night's rest. But imagine our feelings when we found that it was about 11 o'clock. We enjoyed a mutual laugh and lay down and slept until morning. This is the first time in my life that I slept by a signpost, but thank the Lord I was not drunk, but sober, and on my way to heaven as well as to California. April 11th, Thursday. We arrived at Cincinnati on Monday, and on Tuesday boarded the steamer Jewess for St. Louis. We steamed down the great Ohio River without a particular incident and landed yesterday. Today at noon, we boarded the Duroc for St. Joseph. We started up the Missouri River at 7 p.m. in fine spirits. As we loosed from the wharf and launched out into the river, the scene was highly exciting. The engines were puffing, the waves were dashing, the Negroes were singing, and the sights and sounds were weirdly attractive in the gathering darkness. The first night on board, we retreated to a genuine sensation. Our wagons, 16 in number, were all in a row on the top deck. Between our wagons we placed our cloth tents, and several of us slept there. A while before daylight I smelled fire. It was blazing, and I feared to cry fire for fear of a panic. A stiff wind was blowing, and the fire had gained such headway that I sprang upon the tent, fire and all, gathering up the folds not on fire, and smothered out the blaze. I was severely burned on the hands, face, and arms, but saved the ship and possible loss of life, for which I am grateful to Almighty God. April 12th. I am suffering excruciating pains from my contact with the fire last night. My good friend, Dr. White, opened the blisters and dressed my wounds. Someone stole the rubber coats belonging to Brother Lindsay and myself. April 13th. We are still on the river and traveled all night, which we did not intend to do when we started, because of dangerous navigation. We struck several snags during the night, but backed out each time, slowly making our way amid the danger. At 12 o'clock we were alarmed by the cry, "Horse overboard." I immediately ran to the side of the boat, and behold, my Billy had fallen into the river and was being carried downstream. The small boat was dispatched at once in pursuit and soon found him. The men caught him by the bridle, held his head up, and towed him to shore. We got him back on the boat, rubbed him dry, and gave him a pint of whiskey. April 14th. Sunday. This morning Brother Tuttle's mare was missing. She fell overboard sometime during the night and was doubtless drowned. At 10 o'clock I was requested to preach, to which I responded. Brother F.C. Welch closed with singing and prayer. A little while, Before services, the gambling table was cleared away and the cabin hastily arranged for service. April 24th, we traveled 8 miles and took dinner with a Baptist farmer who owned a number of slaves, and he said emphatically, "To one go and another come, and he cometh." His wife weighed something over 200 pounds and made full use of her authority over the slaves, for she kept them on the trot. In the afternoon, we traveled 5 miles and Captain Storm's wagon broke down. We distributed the load, fastened the axle to a pole, drove 2 miles and camped. April 25th, we were detained repairing the wagon. In the evening, we attended a meeting in the schoolhouse. April 26th, we traveled 8 miles and came to a splendid location for spending the Sabbath. After breakfast, we began arrangements for preaching, and we had a grand meeting. Reverend W.W. Boakes preached. Many of the neighbors came to see the strange sight, pilgrims to California, worshiping the God of the Bible. April 30th. We started early and reached St. Joseph, a distance of 25 miles at 5 o'clock. We bought hay at $2 per 100 lbls. St. Joseph is rather an awkward-looking place and is nearly surrounded by hills. The town lies in a valley. Emigrants are here by the thousands on their way to California and Oregon. All kinds of immorality and crime, robbing, stealing, murdering, and fighting prevail to a considerable extent in broad daylight. May 3rd. We remained here the past 3 days purchasing sundry supplies and preparing for our long journey of 2,000 miles across the plains. May 4th was a serious morning with us. We were making arrangements to cross a great river for the last time. This river divides the United States from the vast Indian territory upon which we are about to enter. By 10 o'clock we had crossed on the steam ferry and bidding farewell to the States, no doubt, some of us forever, we turned our faces to the wilderness still uninhabited by civilized human beings. End of chapter 1.